and I've lived in Costa Mesa for 22 years. I am alarmed by the chaotic and brutish actions of federal immigration and customs enforcement officers across the United States. They have repeatedly stated that they are only targeting undocumented immigrants with criminal records, but they have repeatedly swept in undocumented immigrants without criminal records, documented immigrants without criminal records, and even permanent legal residents and U.S. citizens. These federal officers often appear in unmarked cars, wearing masks that conceal their identity and without identifying the agency they represent. I ask that Costa Mesa take action to mitigate the overreaches of the federal government within our city. In particular, I ask that the city enact a resolution not to provide assistance to ICE activity in Costa Mesa. I also request that the city enact a resolution requiring that law enforcement must not wear masks obscuring their faces and must identify the agency they represent and their name or badge number before questioning or detaining anyone. The City of Huntington Park recently passed a similar resolution. Our U.S. Senator Alex Padilla has introduced a bill in Congress to require federal agents to identify themselves when conducting enforcement activity. A summary of that bill states, quote, "The concealment of officers' identity limits the ability of individuals to challenge unlawful government acts, stripping citizens of their basic rights to hold government actors accountable. Furthermore, the lack of clear identification goes against federal standards for law enforcement conduct." Under 8 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 287.8 C.2.3, immigration officers are required at the time of arrest to identify themselves as such as soon as it is practical and safe to do so. ICE's practices also reduce accountability and transparency within law enforcement as they prevent the public from reporting and seeking recourse for unlawful practices, end quote. When federal law enforcement officers are dressed up like bank robbers or terrorists, individuals have reason to be unsure whether they are being detained by legitimate law enforcement or being kidnapped, and may unknowingly resist law enforcement efforts out of fear and uncertainty. Notably, in the last month of the first Trump administration, Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act and included in that a requirement that any federal military and civilian law enforcement personnel involved in responding to a civil disturbance to wear visible identification of themselves and the name of the government entity employing them. And we should do the same for these immigration actions. Thank you.